So, good afternoon, everybody. So normally you should see my screen for those who are in the WebEx room, and as well on YouTube. So I'm using at this moment the same screen, so that's why I do not see who is in the room. But yes, you can watch either in WebEx or in YouTube. So my name is Aurélien Orange, and yes, I see my former colleague who is in Bologna, yes. So welcome to this debate workshop. Welcome everybody. I've seen before setting up this live stream that yes, you are from a bit everywhere. I saw some from Nepal, I've seen some as well from India and from Italy, naturally, and I'm in the Netherlands. So, so for those who don't know, me and my colleague, Anna Maria Urbanova, who is as well here, I see the camera as well. So we are the two co-organizers together with a team of this competition, the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament, that will organize officially starting in March, but there are as well some activities before, and like debate workshops, some friendly match, and we'll have as well some other events we'll propose you during spring, let's say. So maybe some words, I don't know if you want as well to say some words to start as well, Ms. Urbanova?
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for joining the first debate preparation workshop prior to the start of the competition. We'll go over the basics of the competition. We understand the majority of you are, this is the first time you're participating in this kind of format. So we're excited to see you in the competition, and this is helping hand, so to say, from our side to review the rules and the format of the matches.
Yes. So indeed, so you have heard from actually your contacts and maybe from your professors as well about this competition already, and it has been explained as well the format. That's why as well you decided to sign up. So here are some information as well about what we are going to present. So Ms. Urbanova.
Yes, as mentioned, we'll start with the basic information about the competition, then a bit of review of the participants, overview of the timeline for the upcoming months until the end of June, a little bit of information about the group and elimination phases, what the match will be looking like, what are the grading criteria, and where you can find resources for this edition, and what would be the upcoming workshops.
Yes. So as well, if you have any question during this presentation, this first session, please do not hesitate. This is the reason why actually we make it open on WebEx. Yeah, you can take the floor even with your microphone, because I do not see the chat. My colleague sees the chat, but yes, as well on YouTube, if you want to type some notes, I can see the chat on YouTube. So so please do not hesitate. So yes, so some basic information.
So the competition started first in 2015. This is our continuing edition, and the second edition that will be happening fully virtually. In 2020, we did the transition with the global pandemic, and now this is the format that we'll be using this year and most likely next year as well. The maximum number of participants is 32, which we are now at full capacity with few teams waitlisted. And the platforms we'll be using for the matches are exactly this. On the Cisco WebEx platform for the matches, and the live streams will be on YouTube Live. There are some interesting events planned ahead of the time, some accompanying networking sessions, lectures, and other workshops also during the competition. And those will be happening in between the matches, which will take place in March and April for the group phase, and May and June for the elimination phase. In total, there will be 7 different themes during the competition. Each theme will be for one round of matches.
So, yes, please.
I already see a question in the chat. The presentation will be shared, and it will be also uploaded on the website, so you can download it.
Yes, so all the materials that we show you, you will have access. Huh? Of course, you can ask if you did not get it, but we send by email as well what we present today and during the next workshops. I want to emphasize as well, yes, we use Cisco WebEx. When we contacted you, time to time we use the Zoom. We use WebEx because this is a platform that we have been using for years actually as well, and it helps as well to have some direct conversation between the teams. For example, in the chat, we can record, we can record in the cloud, meaning that we can have as well a very good quality. Zoom, of course, can be used if WebEx does not work for a match, for example. But first, to clarify for everybody, we use WebEx, and this is always the link that you will get first. And if during the match we need to change, of course we can change. And as well, we send the link for YouTube in advance of each match. So please, if you do not get it, please, you can request in advance as well, meaning that you can use it for promoting your team, promoting your university, and ask people obviously to watch what you are doing. And you can as well observe, because during the competition all the links will be available. So it means that as well you can observe what the other teams are doing, teams which are in the same groups on you, because you will be in the group phase of 4 universities in each of the 8 groups. So it means that you will be able to observe as well the performance of a team you might have to meet a bit later in the competition. So yes, it's as well, of course, YouTube. You can watch at any time the match and re-watch the match. So it's for training purpose as well, to observe the best techniques and strategy. So voilà. Moving to the next element. Yes, Mr. Manova.
Yes, so as said, we have 32 universities registered for this edition, which means we are at full capacity. And it means that every one of you will have equal number of matches in the group phase. We're now moving on to the deadline for the nominations of teams. At this moment, several teams have already sent their nominations. And to complete the registration process in the competition, by 15th of February, you should nominate your team, and we'll afterwards check with you the availability for the months of March, April, May, and June. To see that if when we schedule the matches, they wouldn't clash with your exam periods, and that we accommodate everyone's time zones as much as possible, so you won't be having matches too late in the day or too early in the day.
Yes, we already checked the different possibilities of match, and particularly those with a large difference of hours, and it's very likely that indeed there will not be any match, let's say, over 10 p.m. and not before 6 a.m. For each of you. So it's already good news. So yes, but indeed you can have a match against any of them at the group phase, and obviously afterwards you will have an additional match when you qualify for the next round. So here you can see that indeed we already compiled the name of the students who got nominated. We continue to receive, of course, because for example, Catholic University of Lille nominated, etc. And so for us, it gives an overview, and indeed during the next 2 weeks, we expect to get the last nominations of teams. Yes, all teams are composed of 2 or 3 students. All the students study law as the main program or part of the curriculum, and of course there are different levels of students in terms of years of studies. So we have noticed that indeed there are some year 2, some year 3, some year 4, there are some master, some even PhD candidates. And the idea, of course, is to exchange and debate on international law, public international law, and comparative business law, depending on the themes, of course, which will be presented.
What you can see on the slide right now would be the images from our past editions. As you can see, we started with in-person rounds in The Hague. One of the participating universities that was the first to join in was The Hague University, and then slowly we welcomed participants from Brazil, from France, Ukraine, And now we look very much forward to welcoming all of you. We have already well tested the virtual environment, and if you have any questions on the use of platforms or how to check if you would have stable connection on the internet, you can message us at any time. And of course, for every match, I will do a sound check, audio check, video check, and a stability check for your internet connection, and to make sure that you have the full capacity to participate in the match.
So as you can see, this one particularly, the one on the corner on the left, was last year. That was, I think, either the opening or the closing ceremony. So we have events as well with everybody, not just two teams, because we have guest speakers that accepted to as well speak to the teams between the match, not only about law or competition, but about careers, about opportunities for studying in other countries, in other universities. So we hope that you will learn more than just actually having a competition, but as well learn about cultural elements as well, like studying in a different country, as well for your own careers, getting some tips from ambassadors, for example, or some head of organizations, etc. So yes, it's more than this, and I can tell that some of the students who participated last year, they are still in contact for visiting each other after the competition, and of course welcoming those who plan as well to travel for their studies or just for visit.
The timeline of the competition runs between the months of March and June. March and April are the months of the group phase, so that's when you will be having matches against other teams assigned to your group via algorithm. And in May, the teams that have scored the 2 highest scores in their group will continue into elimination stage. And in June, we'll have semifinals and finals. There will be 1 match happening every 2 weeks, with the debate statements pertaining to that match released 10 days prior. And the positions, as some of you might already be familiar, and will also practice during some of the friendly matches. The sides of the debate statement are not assigned prior to the match and are only decided 5 minutes before the speaking time begins in the match.
Yes, it's really important because we received some emails asking about when you get a position. Yes, indeed, it's not a moot court, and as well our format makes it that we ask the teams to prepare both sides. You get to pick, and in preparing actually the other side, because you don't know which side you will have, it is useful for anticipating what the other team will tell. And it's really about reaction during the match as well, because during the rebuttals part of the match is when you have already some arguments to use against what you will hear from the other team. So that's why when you use the 10 days for preparing a match, please try to balance your time in looking at both sides of the statement and looking at where you could find the counter arguments, etc. And on the match itself, obviously, is the moment when you will have a bit of time, because between the moment of the announcement of the topic and the moment of starting the match, we give 5 minutes, so where you can exchange as well within your team about how you remember how you would like to start, etc., based on your preparation. Voilà. So yes, concerning the structure of the competition. So at the beginning, all of you, during the first match, all of you will have each week a match, every 2 weeks, a match. So it means, for example, it could be on a Friday or a Saturday or a Monday, and you will be able to observe the other teams having their own match as well, on the same day or the day after, etc. And 2 weeks later, you will have the second one against another team of your group. And in this way, we can make a kind of mini championship in order to know which of the 2 best teams, let's say, will be able to go to the 8th of finals. So the way that the points are calculated is that we add up all the scores of all the judges for each match you got during the group phase. and doing that, let's say, calculation, if, for example, you had 2 victories and the other one, another team got as well 2 victories, the difference is made on, indeed, the number of points. So this is the reason why we keep records of the points you get in order to define, if there is a draw in terms of number of victories. Then you arrive in the 8th of final. In the 8th of final, you meet another, let's say, one of the 2 teams of another group. And if you are familiar into sports competition, it's very common to have this kind of format. And obviously, you will see a different way to make the strategy and to participate. But yes, try to look in your agenda the end of the weeks in March, every 2 weeks, because this is when you will have probably your match against a team every 2 weeks. So try to keep this a bit available, let's say, and we will always ask you in advance, obviously, before the competition, if you can make it. If you cannot make it, please let us know as well, because we need to inform the other team in advance for them, and then we can find an alternative date. It's really important to have in mind that on our side, we can't find an alternative moment for your match if you have indeed an emergency or something in your university or in your country as well, which prevent to have the match on the day we proposed initially and that you accepted. So yes, you will always receive again the link for the match and the link as well to watch. And after the match, there will be the reception of the feedback forms with your scores from the 3 judges that you get from your match. And then it goes until the final. So it means that even if you do not reach the final, because at the end there will be 2 teams in the final, you will be still welcome to participate to the events we organize around the competition, because again it's to network first, and as well to get some information about some careers, some possibilities of studies, etc. And as well you can observe how the teams perform when they go further and further in the competition. So yes, we hoped, of course, we are thinking to be possible to have the final in person, but for the moment, we don't know how the situation is with the pandemic, so we keep everything online for sure, and then we will see if things get better, and we will see how it is around the end of the competition. Now the format of the match, Mr. Benova.
Thank you. The speaking points would be, there are 4 speaking positions for each match, for each team. When the match starts, of course, we will check the internet connection, the audio and the video of each speaker. And then we'll do the draw to assign pro and con positions to the participating teams. Afterwards, the teams will have 5 minutes to prepare and finalize their preparation for the match. The team that is assigned a pro position, in this case, Team A, will have 4 minutes to conduct their opening statement. Then directly it will be followed with the team with a con position, and then we move to the rebuttals. There are 2 rebuttals for each team. You crisscross the position. The rebuttal positions have 2 minutes again only speaking time, and then we proceed to the conclusion, which again is only 2 minutes for the speaker. The time between speaking positions doesn't transfer, so if you don't use full 4 minutes for the opening statement, the extra time that was not used there cannot transfer to a different speaking position. To help out the teams to keep track of the time, so you can have a time tracker on your screen, but we'll also do it with a timekeeper, which will show you a red card, which will symbolize 30 seconds remaining in your speaking time. That is usually when it's good to have the conclusion and to make the impactful argument or a point that you want to highlight for the audience to remember from your speech.
So have in mind that, yes, the judge will be observing you, listening to you, watching you, obviously. So they want to see how you want to be convincing when you bring your arguments. but as well, indeed, manage well your time. Just by experience, the judge pay attention, indeed, if you really respect the time, meaning that if you do not finish your argumentation within the 2 minutes or the 4 minutes, depending on the position, usually the judge, they put a lower grade on one element. So it means, yes, is where you can gain some points if you really respect the time. And yes, the judge do not bring any question because they are outside of the room, or they are in the room but they do not give any question. And but you will get, of course, the feedback on. Sometimes the feedback is per student, sometimes the feedback for the whole team, but translate this feedback into advice for the next match. You have a match every 2 weeks, so it means what a set of 3 judges has said for one match. For the second match, you can already integrate this feedback to improve, and the idea obviously is that you improve after every match until as much as possible in the end of the competition. So yes, it's really to improve day of match after day of match, let's say.
So the topics will start with an easier, let's say, debate statements, and as the competition progresses, so will the difficulty and the level of preparation and persuasiveness that you will need to highlight the content that you're making.
I think I saw a question from a Professor THULDT.
Yes, so if a speaker goes over time, the organizers won't ask the student to stop, but it will be visible from the recording and also on the call that the speaking time is now over, and the student is over. It's allowed speaking time, and it is up to judges to make the call whether or not they will account for this in their grading sheet.
So now moving to yes, the assessment itself. So what you can see on the right side are the criteria of the assessment. So each judge receive one, let's say, form to observe the match, and it is one actually a form per team. So they receive 2 forms for each match. And as you can see, there are different criteria. These criteria are on the website of the COREX Foundation. So there is a large amount concerning the content, and as well there is around 40% concerning the effort of presentation in general, and 10% which is integrated as well in the grade. But there is as well a possibility to lose points, and it's really important to pay attention to this element, particularly, for example, if you are caught reading. And we strongly advise, it's not forbidden to read, but we strongly advise to avoid reading, or at least it should not be noticed if you are reading, because the judge, they have an element of allocation of points, which is about if the student was reading or not. And if a free judge notice it, then you lose 15 points out of 300. Each judge can give 100. So we give time to the students, to the judge, of course, to watch the match. If they want, they can re-watch the match. There is no obligation that they give immediately the results. If they are in the room, I mean in the WebEx room, meaning that they are around the same time zones on the organizers, let's say, they will be giving an oral feedback already. But of course, it will be translated into a written feedback at the end of this form, and you will receive a copy for your own match from the free judge a few days later. So a few days later, because we collect the score you got, obviously, but you will see as well how the score has been built by the judge, and the comments, what the judge liked, what the judge would prefer to improve, etc., to be improved. So the judges, all of them, they have a background in law, so it means that when you make use of legislation, case law, constitution, treaty, etc., be aware that they have all the time not all the time, but they have 2-3 days to verify, either on the spot to notice if you really used the good interpretation of the case, or when they'll be rewatching the match if they wish, before turning up, before giving us their result at the end. So yes, so some of the judges might be those who made a PhD maybe on the topic, but we never know in advance. So that's why you take a risk, but at the same time, if you take the risk, it can be, I would say, for a positive outcome at the end on the grade, on the score. So this is the reason why please do not hesitate to use case law to show that you have sources for your argumentation, because that will help greatly and positively for a good grade, let's say, for a good score at the end. So yes, we already mentioned that each judge provide 100 points maximum. It's out of 100 points, and we add up, and it makes your final score of the match up to 300. And we compare, of course, the score you got out of the 3 judge scores with the score of the other team to define the winner of the match. And if you win the match in the group phase, you get 3 points. If you lose the match, you get 0 points. But if you are in the elimination phase, of course, you move to the next round at that time.
In these slides, you can see a bit more closer breakdown of the grading criteria. On the previous slide, it was screen capture from the training sheet for training purposes, which is available for download on the website. So if you would like to prepare ahead of the match and see which elements you need to be careful of, you can get this resource there and also here in the presentation. As my colleague said, one of the important elements of your speech would be content of the arguments that you are making to support your debate position. So long as you are able to provide a clear structure and present the goal of the argument that you are making, and towards the end of your speaking positions also have a clear conclusion that the judge and the audience can take away, it's going to be greatly beneficial to you in terms of scoring.
Yes, try to let's say, when you are in the introduction, you define the energy of your team as well. So meaning that you have to make a great impression from the start. So if you have one person in your team who is more charismatic, for example, or you can use citation if you want, but it's really important to have clearly as well an idea of what you are going to say during the rest of the argumentation, simply because some judge can be, let's say, very critical about if you announce the plan of your, or if you clearly tell what you plan to expose for the rest of the argumentation, but as well, if you set, I don't know, the atmosphere, etc. What I want to emphasize is, as you can see, logos, pathos, ethos. Obviously, you need to give the sources of the source of your argumentation. You need as well to show how logically it is actually from one argument to next argument, etc. It is moving without any doubt, etc. But don't hesitate as well to use some pathos, meaning that you can as well take the situation of I don't know, a victim or someone who was part in a case, or a state, or etc. Because it's how you can create as well some connection with your audience. I can tell that traditionally pathos is, as you see sometimes at a court, some judges, they use pathos in order to influence a bit jury, etc. But students are hesitant to use it, which is normal because they are not used to do it when they learn law and they start to apply it. But it's not forbidden to take different positions when you want to explain a concept, and pathos can help as well. So very important, give, if possible, very strong examples that, let's say, if possible, the judge know and the other teams know, because then it gives as well some authority to your argument. And obviously, if you make some variation in the argumentation style, so meaning that you try to, based on the different personalities you have in the group, that will help a lot, obviously, in order to surprise a little bit, because if you do not surprise, I would say, with every argument you give, you can surprise about the method you use in order to convince. So yes, and again, when you find that there is a good alchemy within the team, of course, use what works very well in the content. So meaning dividing the work of preparation, because here it's about content, so it means a lot of preparation to research on the topic. And so yes, you can see how it works match after match in order to optimize your methods and your strategy, obviously.
The second part would be more on the presentation of your position. Then the overall impression of the team's performance is graded separately. That is a combined point that the judge makes at the end of the match. And there are some extras, which might be a point deductions, depending on the judge's decision whether or not to account for them. Specifically on the presentation, we will have 2 workshops that might be useful to improve or to get some tips and tricks. The people that will be hosting the workshops have participated in the competition prior, or have either as a judge or as a participant or co-host.
Yes, so the presentation side, obviously, it's very important because it's a way that you will show how convincing you are, and as well you can try as well some ways. Actually, modulation of the voice is important, obviously, because then you can emphasize where you want to, I would say, point out a mistake, or you want to emphasize the main argument, the main example. So it's really important. Body language, because it is visual, and that's why we check the audio and video. So it means that you can really talk to the camera, you can really, I would say, explain. If you want to use your hand, you can. If not, you don't need, obviously. But yeah, the idea is to see the effort you put into, let's say, living your argument. So you are in the argument, you embody it, and you try to transmit this to your audience, and at least to do it better to the other team. The overall performance. Here it's really because it's a team competition. It's a team competition, meaning that you can have a great speaker in the team, but still it's a team effort. So during the match, let's say, if you plan to be the 3 person speaking during the match, of course, it's important that the 3 persons appears during the match. If you are only 2 out of the 3, or if you are only 2 because you are only 2 in the team, make sure that the judge watching the match, if they see your name, or if they see that you are connected, they would like to see you speaking. So it means that if you do not plan to be at the match, please do not open your camera, etc., because the judge, they will ask why actually the person is there and does not say anything, and I see the name on the list for the match. So it's really important on this aspect to, let's say, share the effort, meaning that one person can be extremely good at opening, but as well should support in giving some other arguments later based on the rebuttals that person can hear after he or she is done with the introduction. And finally, for the extras, obviously the behavior of the language should be appropriate, meaning that some courtesy is expected between the teams, and as well between the teams and the audience. Of course, if you really disagree with an argument given by someone else, you can tell that you disagree, but in a polite way, of course. And it's always appreciated by the judge that you when you start a rebuttal, and you do not ignore what has been said just before. It's appreciated that you mention a part of what has been said by the other team, because it shows that you are listening, and as well, yeah, you try to really convince and not to just impose without any, I would say, concession at all. So it depends the kind of image you want to give, obviously, but it's good that you show that you make the link with what has been said before, and to show to the judges that yeah, you are a person who is listening to the other party, and not ignoring what has been said. Finally, it's possible indeed to misunderstand the topic, because yeah, the words are chosen particularly to make sure that it is about one, let's say, controversy, we could say, and not another one. So please be careful when you start preparing, because it starts, of course, days before, about the source you will use, etc., based on how you understand as a team, after a discussion, of course, what does it mean, that statement, and what it refers to. What we said sometimes when we talk to the universities is the topics are connected to what happened during the last month. So last month in the news, around the world. So it's not innocent if we choose a topic that year. It's because something happened before, and it is how you should interpret it. The content team writing it, they observe the news, they read as well, they teach courses of law, obviously, and they are up to date to the latest developments of legislation in some countries, and some projects of treaties as well. So that's why it's where you should think about. Of course, you can use information of 20, 50 years, 100 years before, but the intention first was to ask the teams to debate on something which is which happened recently, let's say. So voilà. And what else? Yes, the reading aspect. So you can lose points as well if you are noticed reading. So as I already mentioned, but this comes better and better through the practice, obviously, how to memorize, and as well it is advised to not read too much, because as well it helps to be reactive when you listen to the other team speaking, and to make notes, of course, and to not lose track of what you want to say, obviously.
For every match, you'll receive feedback from 3 different judges. The organizing team makes sure that the judges don't share the affiliation by nationality or university with the participating teams in the match. So you will really receive an objective feedback from professionals that have experience in the field or are practicing lawyers in the field. And sometimes you will see that one judge from a certain background might prefer arguments of one team, and another judge might be more neutral for the 2 teams, and another might prefer the other team entirely. So in the feedback, again, based on discretion of the judge, you will receive perhaps sometimes tips on what was the strong aspect of your presentation, of your speaking points, and also perhaps also some feedback onto what to be careful about in the future matches. When it comes to resources, you have for training purposes, the grading sheet is available for download on the website. Same with rules and regulations for the upcoming edition. And of course, any updates that will be happening for the materials are available on the website again, and also on the social media. So when we publish something new, be that an article from past participants, or tips or publishing of this particular presentation, or the presentation from the following workshop, you'll also find it on the website, and the links will be available also in the newsletters.
Yes. So when you will look at the rules and regulation, you will notice one element, which is that the teams have total freedom to research wherever they want before the match. So they can ask some professors. They can ask their own professors from some courses that they have, but they can have as well the help from an alumnus, an alumna, or an employer, or someone in the family, a politician, I don't know. But why? Because simply there is a large diversity of topics. It means you will see that the topics will be within public international law and or let's say comparative business law, but inside you can have a space law, you can have intellectual property law for the business side, and you can have as well human rights, ICL, etc., international criminal law, I mean, that you can make use of, and maybe based on the level of studies where you are concerning law, you might not have had such kind of areas of law, but you might have someone in your, let's say, academic network and professional network as well, who have this expertise, who know someone. So you have 10 days to of course consult materials, to go on internet as well, but as well you can ask someone with precise question, what do you think about the topic, or what do you think I could tell about this position, etc. Why? Because we want to develop the networking. The networking as well, when you are in academia or outside of academia in your career, is extremely important. When you don't know, it's better to ask to the person who already has the information, because it is saving your time. So yes, please do not hesitate to make this extra mile, to go asking to those who have the information on the topic. Again, because there is total freedom. If in your university you have the word expert about the topic you have for the debate, okay, make use of it and go talking to that person if you know that this person is in the building or in the city, let's say. And yes, do not hesitate to visit the website, because there you will find as well additional materials, and you will see as well yes, the topics of previous years, if you want to train by yourself as well. And as well, if we need to make some particular announcement, we make them there. We make them as well on LinkedIn and Facebook. Finally, yes, another element is it has been mentioned when we were making presentations, the time you spend for preparing a match, the 10 days. The 10 days, you will look at both sides. And indeed, on the day of the match, there is only one side that will be picked up for you to speak during the 10 minutes. So everything you have done, even for the other side, is of course useful to speak, but as well you can make use of it if you want to write an article on the question. Why? Because well, all this amount of research can be translated as well in writing if you wish, because you spend time on studying maybe the question, or there was a new legislation, and this is how, if you wish, of course, you can propose to get edited, and because we have a team of editors for a legal journal, and after the match, because it's not, of course, shown to the judge, it's not part of the grading at all, it's not part of the assessment. But if you don't want this, let's say, a piece of work to be not reused, let's say, you can still ask us at the foundation, and we can help you to get edited and published on our website with your name, and of course, in this way, you will be able to keep a trace of the fact that you have treated that topic within the context of the competition. Do you want to add something, Mr. Benova, about it? Or
we've covered it quite extensively. I would perhaps add, for the students and also for the coaches or professors that are currently on the call or on the live, is that those 10 days really is the time that we have tested over the past years and past editions, that encourages the team not to go into a huge research on the subject area. Again, for the speaking part, you only have 10 minutes in total for your speaking positions, and thus 10 minutes to make your point for each side of argument. So 10 days also should encourage you to look in the topic and understand the core of the issue, find out what would be the most important legislation, perhaps what is the most relevant case law example that you can find for each side, and then be able to use it during the match. By researching both sides, it's easier for you to react during the match to the other side, and perhaps you would be able to find some different examples that the opposing team might not use in their argumentation, and you can use it during your rebuttal and perhaps highlight the strength of your position that you're making by contradicting and highlighting that the other side used a weaker case or weaker example to support their statements. But again, what we would recommend is that you understand the subject, you understand what would be the most important legislation to support each side of the argument, and choose which ones you would focus on during your match. It's not recommended to spend one rebuttal fully just providing resources or case law or legislation to strengthen your argument. It is better to use them throughout the speaking positions.
Yes.
And perhaps for the publication, our editorial team will be working with you. So should you decide to publish it and also have that on your resume, then our editors, upon receiving the submission, will go over it, and if need be, they'll get in touch with you about potential required edits to make sure that it meets the internal guidelines of the publication. And then you will actually have the full experience of what it is like when you submit academic writing for a journal for publishing, perhaps in a simplified way that is a good start to perhaps future academic writing.
Yes, so as you can see, the competition itself obviously is to help you to get better and better in public speaking, because it's not just an oral argumentation. You speak in public, even if in the room there will be only your team and the other team, the host and timekeeper. You will have plenty of people watching you and rewatching you. And this is something that you can do as well if you want to see how it was last year, the performance of the teams who compete. If you just type on YouTube the egg debate tournament and you type final, for example, you will find the final. And then you will see the two teams of last year who are competing. So it is, of course, to help you in oral argumentation, but as well, if you want to add on the top of it the written experience, let's say, that is possible. But of course, it's not counted at all in your performance, and it's entirely up to you if you want to do it or not. So meaning that what is assessed is these 30 minutes of match. So it means the 10 minutes when you speak, and as well when you listen and you reply, of course. And it is the main element, of course, of the competition. So now, yes, is the time in case you have questions for those who are in the room or on YouTube. So please do not hesitate to already ask. There will be some other debate workshops which will be more precise on some aspects, of course. Here it was an introduction to tell you, from a first hand everything maybe you heard already. But yes, we are here as well to answer questions in case you have. And if you want to take the microphone, please do not hesitate. You can tell as well where you come from, actually, where you watch it from. So, do you have any question?
Right. I see one more question in the chat. So, regarding the grading sheets for the friendly matches, the grading sheets for the friendly matches are used for the reference for the jury members or the one judge that is participating, and they use it directly to give feedback to the teams. The scores aren't compounded during the match, but if you want, you can rewatch the friendly match to get back on the feedback of the judge, or it's possible that we establish a certain level of written communication as well after the match. But primarily, friendly matches are on the spot, so the feedback is received directly during the call after the end of the match from the judge.
Yes, you will see in terms of feedback, some judges prefer to, because sometimes they divide the work in terms of feedback, oral feedback. So some will prefer to make a feedback per student. So it can be, of course, extensive. Some prefer to give it per team, and some can prefer simply to give advice to both teams, because, of course, there will be the next match continuing, so it applies to both. But yes, and during that moment, yes, you will hear frontally what they think. So because they assess you, they will tell you politely, but if they consider something was not clear, they will tell you it was not clear, or it was a wrong interpretation, or you should have used another example more recent. You know, in academia, it's quite important to verify if you really have the latest case law, meaning that if you had a change of jurisprudence, and yeah, it would be problematic. But yes, this is a moment at the end of the match when you get an oral feedback. And you will get as well the written feedback, which you will have time to read. So for the friendly match, it's something as well we can ask to the judge that you get as well by email the written format of their feedback that they gave orally. Any other question?
So if you don't have any questions now, you can of course email us afterwards. There are also contact forms on the website, and also on the social media. We have one of our teams always moderating the chats. So if you message it, you will receive response within the day, definitely. And perhaps let's move to the next workshops that you can expect.
Yes. So as you can see, in February there will be several dates for the workshops. The next one will be given by a different person than me, but will be there, of course. It will be about persuasiveness and presentation. And afterwards, the basis of each preparation, which is a legal research. And afterwards on public speaking, so the oral argumentation part, and of course the elements of this argumentation precisely at the end of February. So that would be 1 week, I mean the last workshop, 1 week before the opening ceremony. So it means that in February it's a moment when you will be able to connect in order to watch or to bring questions to the persons who will be presenting during this workshop. And yes, please do not hesitate if you have a question, if you want to test something, if you can give some examples and ask us if it is what is done, etc. So it will be the occasion. These workshops will be, of course, open to all the teams, those who are not yet nominated as well, or those who are interested simply. And it will be possible to watch it again on YouTube at any time, particularly before each match, if you wish, in March and April. You can always watch again those workshops.
Right.
Yes?
So I think we're at the end of our workshop. So the introductory workshop to the format and to the structure of the competition. Again, we'll keep the floor open while the call is going, and in the meantime, you can also find information on the LinkedIn, on our Facebook, and if you want to message us directly regarding the competition, that is the email address that you can use, and we'll get back to you with the answer as soon as possible.
Yes. So thank you, all of you. I know that for some of you it's really late in Nepal or in India. And as well, we wish to all of you a good weekend. Even if you might have, like in Canada, I see some of you who are in the WebEx. You still have maybe some things of deadlines, but again, keep watch what we'll publish in terms of information, and as well look at the other teams nominated. Sorry. And yes, next week already we'll have some activities for you. Voilà. So thank you, Professor Osterveld. Thank you as well to all the teams. Thank you in Iceland as well. And yes, I don't know yet all your names. I know that some of you are in Russia and in Italy. And so yes, we keep in touch. We'll send you as well some emails to inform you as well during the next weeks. Thank you again, and wish you a good evening here from the Netherlands.
Thank you. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to
Bye.
continue the
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Very much.
You.
Thank you.